All right. Whereas our nation was founded on the principle of equal rights for all people, but the fulfillment of this promise has been long in coming for many Americans. Some of the most inspiring moments in our history have arisen from the various civil rights movements that have brought one group after another from the margins of the mainstream of American society. And whereas between 1970 and early 2000, LGBT campaigns, protests, and organizations played a pivotal role in combating negative representation of LGBT people, supported liberation movements that empowered individuals to come out to find their to their friends, family, and colleagues, and advocated for HIV and AIDS funding, legislation, and equal access to health care. And whereas members of Savannah's LGBTQ communities make their voices heard and continue to fight for equality and legislation that prohibits discrimination in housing, employment, and reproductive health services on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity. And whereas we will always remember and cherish the names of LGBTQ individuals, those of the transgender community who lost their lives to senseless violence, leaders and friends lost to HIV and AIDS, activists who died fighting for equal rights, as well as the countless number of those whose lives and stories have not yet been told. And whereas during LGBTQ Pride Month, Savannah, Georgia joins the nation in celebrating LGBTQ Americans, their struggle, and their contributions to our communities, and we acknowledge that we must do more to create a more open and welcoming city. And whereas in 2020, the Proud Savannah Task Force was appointed, consisting of community members and city staff to ensure more consistent and mutually beneficial dialogue between the City of Savannah and the LGBTQ community. Now, therefore, I, Van R. Johnson II, Mayor of the City of Savannah, do hereby proclaim June 2021 as Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, and Queer Pride Month in the City of Savannah, Georgia. And I ask our citizens to be more loving, more welcoming, and more supportive of the rights of all citizens to freely live and love and be in our city.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And as aforementioned, we founded the Proud Savannah Task Force to create better relationships with our LGBTQ community. And so this task force consists of our leaders of our existing LGBTQ plus communities. And we're glad to have with us Pastor Candace Harnett, who is the chairwoman of our Proud Committee, our Proud Task Force. And again, we invited Dusty Church from the Pride Center, but I'm not sure if he's on. If he is, please make yourself known. Pastor Harnett, thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. On behalf of Proud Savannah and the LGBTQIA community, as a young, same-gender loving person having come out in the 90s, I could have only imagined that one day I would not have to live in the shadows. Today, the City of Savannah is acknowledging that all people are worthy of respect and truly have been endowed by their Creator with the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Representation matters to all marginalized groups. And there are young people who will be able to hold their heads a little bit higher now. And when faced with discrimination, be able to persevere with dignity because they live in a city which upholds their humanity. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Pastor. And thank you for the work that Proud Savannah does. I want to make sure you know, and thanks to the efforts of Alderman Pertee, we raised our municipal equality index from 39 to 78 in just 1 year, which is absolutely significant. And also held our first Transgender Day of Remembrance, and want to thank you all for your work regarding that. And so I just thank you all for the work that you do. Some people think that task force are not important, but I think task force do significant things, and getting people to work together on things that are important to them is significant. So thank you so much for all that you do, and thank you, Alderman Pertee, for your leadership as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
As we continue with our agenda.
Yes, you can peruse all items in your consent agenda. Item number 5.
Number 5. If there are no holdouts for item number 5, I would like to make a motion that we authorize the city manager to execute a contract to pursue item number 5, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Okay.
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. I think you have to do better on this consent agenda. I'm not sure this is much of a consent agenda, but motions have been properly moved and seconded that we authorize city manager to